At 6:15 every evening in a quiet part of Nagoya, a woman in her early 60s clears her dinner table. The meal was small: miso, a piece of grilled fish, pickled vegetables, a bowl of plain rice. She washes the dishes, puts them away, and that is it. The kitchen is closed. Not locked, closed. She will not open the fridge again before morning. Not because she is disciplined in any dramatic sense, because the idea of eating again after this point simply does not occur to her. It never has. Her daughter, who moved to London 12 years ago, calls her every Sunday. They talk about the usual things. Last year, the daughter asked her mother what her secret was. The mother did not understand the question. There is no secret. Dinner ends, the evening begins. These are two separate things. Right now, in most Western homes, dinner and the evening are not two separate things at all. The meal bleeds into snacking. Snacking bleeds into something sweet bleeds into one more thing before bed. And somewhere in that chain, the body that was supposed to be resting is still working, still digesting, still managing a blood sugar curve that was never supposed to still be rising at 10 p.m. Here is what most people have never been told about the hours after 6 p.m. The body does not run the same program around the clock. As evening arrives, insulin sensitivity falls, the digestive system gradually slows, and the hormonal environment shifts toward repair and restoration rather than activity and processing. Dr. Satchin Panda at the Salk Institute, whose research on circadian eating has become some of the most cited in metabolic science, has shown consistently that the same food eaten at noon and at 9 p.m. produces different outcomes in the body. Not slightly different, measurably, significantly different. Japan has known this without needing a laboratory to confirm it. The evening meal is the lightest meal. It ends early. And 5 things in particular are simply absent from what happens after that meal is finished. Number 3 is what most people in the West consume within an hour of sleep and never think twice about. Number 5 is the one almost everyone reaches for, specifically because they believe it is the responsible choice. That belief is worth examining. The first thing is refined carbohydrates eaten late. Bread with dinner at 8 p.m., pasta as the main event of the evening, crackers from a packet while watching something before bed. In the West, the evening meal is often the most carbohydrate-heavy meal of the day, which is precisely the opposite of what the body is prepared to handle at that hour. Insulin sensitivity is already declining by late afternoon. A significant refined carbohydrate load in the evening produces a blood sugar spike the body is poorly equipped to manage, and what cannot be burned efficiently at this hour is stored, with a strong preference, research shows, for abdominal fat specifically. The Japanese evening table looks different. Light, fermented, and vegetable forward. If rice appears, it is a modest portion eaten early, not a heaped plate assembled at 9 p.m. The logic is not restriction, it is timing. The same food at a different hour has a different relationship with the body receiving it. The second is alcohol used as an evening wind-down. It feels like relaxation, the body loosening, the day releasing. What is actually happening underneath that feeling is a significant disruption to the sleep that follows. Alcohol suppresses REM sleep, the restorative phase where emotional regulation is processed, memory is consolidated, and cellular repair runs at its highest rate. Research from the University of Melbourne found that moderate alcohol before bed reduced REM sleep by up to 24%. The hours in bed feel complete. The rest is not. Japan is not a culture that avoids alcohol, but the cultural pattern places drinking within the meal or an early social occasion, not extended into the late evening as a standalone ritual in front of a screen. When the meal ends, the drinking ends with it. The rest of the evening is allowed to be quiet. The third is heavy protein consumed close to sleep. A large portion of meat at 8 p.m., a protein shake as a pre-bed routine. Fitness culture has made late protein consumption feel not just acceptable, but strategically sound. Here is what that advice tends to leave out. Protein is the most metabolically demanding macronutrient the body digests. Breaking it down is work, significant work that raises core temperature, demands enzymatic activity, and competes directly with the overnight processes the body is trying to run. The body cannot repair efficiently while it is still processing a steak. In Japan, evening protein exists: fish, tofu, egg in small amounts, but it is modest and it is eaten early enough that digestion is largely complete before sleep begins. The question Japan has always asked is not whether to eat protein, but whether the body has time to finish with it before the night begins. The fourth is processed salty food eaten after the meal: crisps, salted crackers, nuts from a bowl on the coffee table. These are so embedded in the Western evening that most people do not experience them as eating. They are something that happens while something else is happening. But high sodium intake in the hours before sleep disrupts fluid balance overnight. The body retains water, blood pressure during sleep runs higher than it should, and the face in the mirror at 7 a.m. carries the evidence of it. What Japan does not have is the habit of the open packet beside the sofa. The meal is the meal. After it ends, the kitchen is not a place anyone returns to for another hour of unconscious grazing. The evening and the eating are not the same activity. The fifth is fruit. This is the one, the virtuous late-night choice. The option reached for specifically because it feels like proof of good intentions. Fruit contains fructose, which the liver processes on its own separate pathway from other sugars. In the evening, as the liver moves toward its overnight regeneration cycle, a meaningful fructose load interrupts that process and redirected the organ's resources toward sugar metabolism instead. The natural sugars in fruit also raise blood glucose enough to delay the drop in core temperature that the body uses as a signal to move toward deep sleep. That delay is not large, but it is consistent, and across months and years, it accumulates into a pattern of sleep that never quite reaches where it should. Fruit in Japanese culture is a morning food, occasionally a lunchtime food, and sometimes a small, deliberate finish to the evening meal eaten immediately, not 2 hours later when the body has already begun its wind-down. The bowl of fruit at 10 p.m. is not a neutral choice just because it came from a tree. 5 things: no diet required, no meal plan, no tracking. Late refined carbohydrates, asking the body to manage a spike it is not equipped for. Alcohol replacing rest with the feeling of rest. Heavy protein keeping the digestive system working through hours it was meant to use for repair. Salty snacks consumed without being registered as food at all. And fruit, eaten late, interrupting processes it was never supposed to interrupt. The woman in Nagoya whose kitchen closes at 6:15 does not think of any of this as restraint. To her, the evening has always been for other things. The eating part is simply finished. Which of these 5 do you recognize in your own evenings? Tell me honestly in the comments. And if someone you know has been eating well all day and still cannot work out why they wake up tired and carry weight they cannot shift, send this to them. The answer is probably happening after 6 p.m. I will see you in the next one.